free games, $20 games, $50 games, $60 games, $70 games, and now $80 games. And trust me, these companies are going to pump that number a lot higher. Hey internet wanderers, let's talk about games and their prices. It's funny how your enjoyment and overall perception of a game can be so massively affected by this little number on a price tag. Price does a lot of things. It sets expectations, value proposition, and decides the overall trajectory of an entire industry. And let me tell you, by Nintendo pricing their little family-friendly cart game $10 higher than usual, they just hurled an opening salvo of what I would like to call the gaming price war. And believe me, it's already starting. Before, the standard AAA gaming price was $60, and then in 2020, NBA 2K20, hallowed be thy name.
Who have thought
About what?
that a young buck like you could actually do the right thing and avoid getting his sorry
I had a
butt kicked
teammate
out the
hold me
game?
back.
Sounds like a wise fella to win in this league.
This masterpiece dunked on all of us by making their game price $70, and a lot of companies in the gaming industry was more than happy to follow. But there were other companies that fancied themselves hipsters that didn't follow this trend. For example, dumbass Larian Studios. Didn't they get the memo that AAA games are supposed to be $70 now? Get this buggy ass indie game shit out of here. From $60 to $70, and now we have $80 games. All thanks to Nintendo. These prices are moving fast, and believe me, they're gonna get faster. Triple-digit prices is almost a certainty. We went 15 years with $60 as the standard price, bumped it up to $70, and now, less than 5 years later, here we are at $80. Do you really think that this momentum is gonna stop anytime soon? Sure, it's a relatively small $10 raise, but I personally think that it's a point of no return. Caesar has crossed the Rubicon. But what do I mean when I say gaming price war? Well, for this comparison, you can think of the price tag kinda like a faction's flag. Think of it like a gaming company's allegiance, their beliefs. To put it another way, I predict game companies in the coming years will use their game price as a statement, a way for them to show whether or not they value the customer or their profits. Okay, I think you need an example. Let's say later in the year, hypothetically, you see that the upcoming game Outer Worlds 2 has priced themselves at $59.99. Whereas the other awaited game this year, Borderlands 4, priced themselves at $79.99. Both of these games are well-respected AAA action RPGs. But in this hypothetical scenario, Obsidian Entertainment and their game, OW2, that's not a good abbreviation for their game. By them pricing their game as such, in my opinion, it's them sending out a clear message that they support the customer. For all intents and purposes, Outer Worlds 2 is a AAA game. But in this hypothetical, by making it below standard price, it shows that they prioritize the customer. Whereas Borderlands 4, by making it the new standard of $80, at best, it's just them following the new standard AAA gaming price. Or at worst, this could be Gearbox Studios openly prioritizing their profits. Now, of course, this was all just a hypothetical. We don't actually know the price of either of these games yet, at least at the time of recording this video. It's highly possible that both of these games could price themselves at $60, $70, or $80. We legitimately do not know. Although this article right here doesn't really paint a nice picture for Borderlands 4, I'll be real. God damn, Randy.
Oh shit!
Oh,
Let's go.
Borderlands.
I'm clocked in.
Oh,
We're clocked in.
Borderlands.
9 to 5, clocked in, boys.
I'm
Not
Randy
you. Fuck you, Randy Pitchford.
Fuck you, Randy.
Fuck you, Randy Pitchford.
Point is, game price will show what the game company values. And it doesn't matter if you're a one-man game developer, an indie company, a AA or AAA studio. Price expectations and value proposition does not discriminate. So, let me break down those 3 things that I brought up earlier in the video. You remember them, right? Of course you do. You're an intelligent person. You know, that's one of the things I most admire about you. Hit that subscribe button, would you? Those 3 things that price does are expectations, value proposition, and dictating the trajectory of an entire industry. Price expectations is pretty simple. The higher the price, the higher the expectations. People want to make sure that they're getting their money's worth. And let me tell you, hot take warning, okay? Those last, 30 FIFA games, in my opinion, haven't been worth their asking price since, forever.
Boy, get out my face with that, man. And I don't need nobody second guessing me. You ain't my coach, punk.
That's the kind of selfish I'm talking about. Get over yourself, man.
Price expectations is one of the main reasons people slammed No Man's Sky and Cyberpunk on release so hard, which is also what I did to your mom last night. These 2 games were priced as AAA experiences, and they clearly did not deliver that, on release that is. And as time goes on, you'll find that this is becoming more and more common. AAA games don't necessarily mean that they give you a AAA experience. Expedition 33 is the breakout game of 2025. It's a Game of the Year contender, and it's a AA game, made by a relatively small team on a relatively small budget. It's $50 and it's amazing. Everyone who plays it has sung its praises. I personally haven't played it, but I'll take their word for it. Value proposition, on the other hand, basically means why should I spend my money on game A when game B is just cheaper, better, and more fun? It's essentially you trying to balance out why should I buy this thing over another. Value proposition is a useful tool. Personally, you should apply it even before $80 was the norm for video games. It's a little more obvious when games are differently priced, but what happens when games are literally the same price? Well, it can still apply. That requires a little more critical thinking on the part of the customer, but personally speaking, I'm a big fan of people when they engage in critical thinking. Trust me, the world would be a lot better place if we had more of that. What happens when 2 games are priced the same? Well, you gotta do some research. Try to figure out which of the 2 is better. That's called being an informed consumer. And also, as a bit of a side note, value proposition can also apply even if the game is free. I won't get into all of that here. Here's a great article on gamedeveloper.com, link below in the video description, but essentially, a game doesn't need to have a price tag to have value proposition applied to them. If I had to compare 2 free-to-play games, I can definitely tell you I am picking one over the other. I am not biased, shut up. Before, certain games would price themselves lower because since they thought that they came from a smaller studio, so it's a smaller game and therefore seemingly of lesser quality. That's how you got $40 games of the past or $50 games of now. Mostly heavy-hitting indie games or AA games. An example of this could be the game Steel Rising. It's a Souls-like game, heavily inspired by From Software's games, but its developers probably thought its quality wasn't quite at the level of Dark Souls, and thus $49.99. But as time goes on, this perception is becoming no longer the case. So many games nowadays can grant you thousands of hours of enjoyment and novel experiences. One of my personal favorite indie games, Kenshi. It's a $30 game, and I've personally gotten well over 1,000 hours of fun out of it. Yeah, because that's what you do in Kenshi. There's a lot of words to describe Kenshi, and fun is most definitely one of them. I'm sure that there's tons of other more obvious examples. Minecraft, for example, it's $30, and you don't need me to tell you how much fun that you can squeeze out of Minecraft. This singular game is responsible for so many fond memories and countless careers. Just take a look at your local sex offender register. The Minecraft YouTuber community. In 2025 alone, we've already had a ton of amazing games come out this year, all of which were below standard price. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Expedition 33, Schedule 1, the Oblivion remake, Split Fiction. I would even argue that all of those games that I just listed are worth more than their asking price, but they don't charge us for more. Textbook pro-consumer. And these games have to be because, my god, it is easy to be anti-consumer nowadays. Need I remind you that nowadays physical games are now a flat $10 more expensive? So if you, dear internet wanderer, value physical media, tough luck. You better cough up the equivalent cash of 4.2 great value garlic breads worth of cash just so you can actually, quote, own, unquote, your game. But let's be real, these companies will find ways to make sure that the disc that you have in your hand isn't technically yours. Case in point, good guy, pro-consumer, Nintendo, who has our best interests in mind.
If only there was some company who actually cared about the user experience for its customers. If only there was a company that actually cared about transparency and honesty and accountability. Oh, what's that? Oh, Nintendo.
Yeah, these guys are doing everything in their power to ensure that you can't actually own physical games and even the physical hardware anymore. That's right, Nintendo, at any point, if they feel like it, can brick your console. Mamma mia, you see, Luigi, individual ownership isn't family friendly. God, I hate Nintendo so much. Holy shit. Now, because I added Gordon and Half-Life onto the thumbnail of this video, I am now obligated to bring up Valve, because anytime that I don't, my videos underperform. Thank you, YouTube algorithm.
Ooh, that's kind of small.
So since I already hit you with the hypothetical earlier in the video, let's keep up the delusion and think about another potential fairy tale scenario. Let's imagine that it's the fall season of 2025. Rockstar confirms our fears and announces that GTA 6 will indeed be $100.
Hello, everyone. How are you? Fine, thank you.
Despite that, pre-orders flood in regardless. But there is a sizable and vocal... Christ! Seriously? But there is a sizable and vocal group of gamers extremely against this price point. And then, out of nowhere, Valve surprises the gaming world and releases the Half-Life 3 trailer. It blows everyone away, and the trailer announces that the game will release in March of 2026. The hype is real, and the most surprising thing of all, the game will be priced at $39.99, $40. And thus, Valve and Half-Life 3 will stand defiant against GTA 6 and Rockstar's tyrannical business practices.
Like that's ever gonna happen. What a load of...
Highly unrealistic, because let's be real, Valve would price Half-Life 3 at like $59.99, you know, $60, the standard. Well, not standard anymore, it's below standard nowadays, but you get my point. By the way, quick disclaimer, I just want to make a distinction between price and playtime hours. Just because you play a game for longer does not necessarily mean it was a more worthy purchase. For example, you can grind out 500, 1,000 hours on Dying Light 2 versus the single-player campaign of Titanfall 2, and you can only spend like, what, 5 hours on that campaign? Just because you play Titanfall 2 far less than the other does not diminish its value and fun as a video game. Those 5 hours of playtime might be short, but they are 5 hours of quality fun. Memorable game-to-game moments. Whereas Dying Light 2, realistically, can you really say that that game is firing on all cylinders at all times, all 500 hours? I highly doubt so. And this also applies to any other open-world RPG that tries to say that gameplay time equals fun. It does not. I'm looking at you, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. God, I'm also just shitting a lot on Ubisoft. Whatever, fuck them. They did this to themselves. Hey, you want to know something? I hate to say this. I really do, okay? Come on, man. I'm fucking recording here. God damn it. Okay. I hate to say this. I really do, okay? I'm not even gonna follow the script for this part of the video, but okay. If I had to have a nuclear hot take, okay? Get ready for this. GTA 6 might, all caps, might, emphasis on the might word in case you didn't see it. It might be the only game on God's green earth that might be able to justify a $100 price tag. Let me clarify this real quick. I do not want GTA to cost that much. Of course not. But you gotta love it when anytime an argument has that word but, I can see why Rockstar would be tempted to price it as such. Listen, the hype is real for this game. On top of the incredible development time, the effort, the sheer amount of employees and workers and programmers working behind this thing, it is safe to say that, at least in some metaphorical sense, an entire industry is working towards this game. Of course, there's also the legacy of GTA, and you just got yourself probably the most anticipated game of all time. And I know, I'm a Valve fanboy, okay? Half-Life 3 is also one of the most anticipated games to all time, but even I'm not so biased and blind to say that Rockstar and GTA 6 will blow Half-Life 3 out of the water, at least in terms of commercial sales and mainstream appeal. Half-Life 3 is more for the gamers. GTA 6 is more for Joe Schmo, everyday person. And of course, if Rockstar makes GTA 6 $100, there's gonna be backlash. Of course, there's gonna be a ton of it. And despite that, the game, I guarantee you, will still break sales records. I shudder to imagine how much money Rockstar must have spent just producing this game. And that actually brings up a rather interesting topic: game budgets and the diminishing returns that they give you, especially when games have budgets as big as this. Let me ask you something. How many games in the last 5 years looked like they justified their insanely high budgets? Hell, I'm pretty sure one of the recent Call of Duties, I forget which one, but I saw a report that said that Call of Duty can cost upwards to close to $1 billion to make. That's when you account for everything from the development cost, the marketing, and post-release funding. Averaged out, it's almost $1 billion. I'll show a brief clip from SkillUp about him talking about Call of Duty's budget because I think he describes it way better than I could.
They found how much it costs to make a Call of Duty game, and spoiler alert, it's more than the GDP of your average small island nation. It turns out all this info was fully visible in publicly available court documents, and from them we can see the development budget for 3 Call of Duty games. It's the development budget for pre- and post-launch, and these numbers do not include marketing. Well, Black Ops 3 was back in 2015, Activision spent a total of $450 million making and supporting that one game. Fast forward to 2019 with Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and that cost the princely sum of $640 million. Finally, Black Ops Cold War in 2020 cost $700 million to make. And I know game development is hard and expensive, don't get me wrong, I am well aware, but I mean, $700 million for one Call of Duty game. That's just not making sense to me. Like, they're good games and all, sure, but I can't see that $700 million on screen. I just can't. I don't understand. You can make the entire Quentin Tarantino filmography for less than half of that, and that shit lasts forever, whereas we forget about each Call of Duty game about 6 weeks after it launches.
This shit ain't sustainable. Yes, you can see the individual eyelashes from Aloy in the new Horizon game at 4K RTX.
Hey, Fernand, my eyes are up here.
I'm looking at your spear.
But at what cost? $200 million? Not counting marketing costs, which can easily double that. So in this comparison, let's say Horizon Forbidden West cost somewhere in the ballpark of $400 million. According to sales reports, this game sold 8.4 million copies. Best case scenario, multiplying the game's base price, that means they would have made $587 million. But I highly doubt they made that much. The base price of the PS4 version was cheaper on release, not to mention the base price of the PS5 version also went down as time went on. On top of all of that, this game frequently goes on sale. So the perfect world net profit would be $187 million. But I highly doubt the actual profit is anywhere near that. Yes, I know the game has deluxe editions, early access versions, and collector bundles and whatnot, but I don't think that made much of a difference. So, if a game like Horizon Forbidden West can just about make a profit, keep in mind this game is generally well regarded and well liked. Even though it's just a Ubisoft game on steroids in my opinion. How's that for a hot take?
Horizon Zero Dawn? More like Horizon 100 Yawns. It's a market-tested, risk-adverse product that most people will enjoy and only a few will truly love or despise. For me though, Horizon Zero Dawn will forever be known as that open-world game that came out 3 days before Breath of the Wild, and now Horizon Forbidden West was that open-world game that came out a couple days before Elden Ring.
If Horizon can manage that, then what chance do lesser-liked AAA games have? Assassin's Creed Shadows, Dragon Age Veilguard, Callisto Protocol, Concord, Avowed? What chance do games like this have? Granted, all of these games that I just listed minus Concord. All of these games, in some capacity or another, kinda broke even or maybe even made a small profit, but even then not by much. Just as an example, I've never played it, even though I should, but the game Alan Wake 2, championed by many as a masterpiece, just recently broke even. It's very disheartening to see a Game of the Year contender struggling just to make a profit. Now, I'm not stating any of this to justify higher game prices. I say this to emphasize that games are getting much more expensive. And if these dumbass companies decide to release the next Ass Creed game for $80 or more, guess what? People aren't gonna view most incoming new AAA games as worth their price tag. Hell, many games nowadays are already kinda like that. Remember $70 NBA games? Yeah, that's right. You remember earlier in the video. You're smart. You should really hit that subscribe button. In the apocalyptic hellscape far future, that is, several months from now, if a game decides to price itself $80, fancies itself a true AAA, bug-free experience, then that game better hope to God that it can live up to that price point. But then you also have the inverse, games below standard price. If a game releases and it's $60, then that game can range anywhere between a heavy-hitting indie game to straight-up masterpieces. And even if this $60 game isn't the best, at least you're not paying full price. And I would like to think that the game makers who would price their games $60 or less have your best interests in mind. It's crazy to me that I actually have to specify that $60 is below standard price. It still feels like it's standard price to me and to many others, but that's not the future that's awaiting for us. So, any future games that prices itself less than $60 or more than $80 is just widening this gaming ideological divide. You may have noticed the background footage. Well, this is from the video game MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. It's a mech sim game set in the Battletech universe, which itself is a combined Warfare's tabletop game. The focal point of the universe being the mech themselves. Basically think if Caterpillar bought a Gundam factory. This all relates to the video, I promise. I personally have never played the tabletop nor learned much about the lore of the universe. But thanks to some hyper-dedicated Battletech content creators, I've been binging Battletech lore over the last few years. Mostly thanks to the Black Pants Legion and their series Tex Talks Battletech. It's an amazing watch, by the way. You should definitely check it out purely just for the voiceover and the video production alone.
It's historically rare for your first successful weapon system to last very long past its original intended application. Because war isn't a sport that rewards second place. War is the sort of thing where there are winners, and there are parking lots.
One of their videos talks about one of the most iconic mechs in the setting, the 70-ton Warhammer, one of the oldest and most reliable mechs in the universe. You see, one of the themes of the Battletech universe is technological regression. Many of the mechs are centuries old, since most people have literally forgotten how to make new ones. And despite that, new Warhammer mechs are constantly being made. How and why, you ask? Well, according to Tex in his video, the companies that manufacture the Warhammer mech abide to a simple rule. The rule of good enough.
It wasn't trying to be a game changer. The Warhammer stands out for a very different reason. In an age of excess, it is the end result of an engineering approach called good enough. The Warhammer is, above all other things, a celebration of practicality in an age of true excess, of wiser minds taking full heed of the expensive and costly lessons from humanity's past and directly applying them to solutions in the present.
Yes, there are mechs out there with better armor, technology, and weapons, etc. But you risk pumping all that money trying to be the next industry-changing thing when just being good enough, well, is enough. And video games are no different. Who needs to spend millions of dollars trying to research and develop eye and hair physics when Expedition 33 can use the built-in features of Unreal Engine 5 and save on production costs? Who needs celebrity voice actors and cutting-edge graphics in your horror game when you can just make a horror game set in one building running on the Unity engine and it'll be far scarier? Whenever I make videos, sometimes I worry that I'm not making them good enough. I'll spend hours refining and redoing sections of the script script. But oftentimes, I try to remind myself that sometimes I just need to make it good enough, and things usually will be fine. There's a time for innovation, there's a time for the cutting edge. But many times, game companies misplace their efforts, or sometimes give no effort at all when making their games. Being good enough doesn't mean mediocre. Being good enough means you know when adding more effort into one aspect will lead to diminishing returns, and all that effort is better placed elsewhere.
And in that way, above all others, the Warhammer is truly perfect. Yes, by modern standards, the Warhammer is old. By MechWarrior standards, so am I. Perhaps that which survives is not a measure of best, but frequently good enough.
This is also just an excuse for me to talk about mechs and Battletech. Woohoo! I'll be real though. If the major players in the gaming industry are the likes of Take-Two Interactive, Tencent, Microsoft, and Nintendo, an $80 price tag is only the beginning. And it's gonna be up to the other gaming companies, studios, and dedicated game makers out there to make a stand against this shameless greed. And it's also up to us, the consumers, the customers, the gamers. We realistically have the final say in all of this. The future of gaming is uncertain. Worst case scenario, the industry crashes and we all have to touch grass. But even in a less dire circumstance, our beloved little hobby is in peril. And time will tell whether or not these game companies will choose profit or the customer. After all, $20 might not be a lot, but that's 8.4 garlic breads. Literal food for thought. What do you think, Internet Wanderer? Are our wallets in jeopardy? Comment your thoughts down below. Thanks for watching, Internet Wanderer. Do the YouTube things.